Hey guys, Gary J here. Today we're looking at laser pointers. Now these are real lasers here. You've got a battery here that's rechargeable. You have a power source in here, and you have lenses in which make your laser light beam. And these type of lasers, these will go out 5 to 50 miles depending on what type you have. But the beam on these lasers, as you turn these on, that beam, you can see it from its exit from the front of the light itself all the way to 5 miles. I mean, it's pretty amazing that it shoots a line that straight and you can actually see it. And I'll show you some pictures or videos of me trying to do that to show you how well these things really work. Now, what is my use in having a laser like this? These are not very powerful lasers, but they're very helpful to me if you want to teach somebody astronomy, point out stars like the star Betelgeuse and the constellation Orion, or point out Aldebaran, another beautiful red giant star in the eye of Taurus the Bull. Or if you want to point out planets or point out satellites going by, you know, just various things in the celestial heavens that you could point out. And so the way these lasers work is that they shoot out that beam of light, which again, you can see it very clearly coming from the laser itself all the way out. And it looks like if you're pointing at a star like, say, the dog star Sirius, if you're pointing at that star, this beam comes out and it looks like it travels all the way to that star. Now that's an optical illusion, of course, but it looks like it's traveling all the way to that star, so you can pinpoint stars exactly and show people what you want them to see. Now, I've tried to teach people constellations sometimes, or point out a star. You say, you see that star there? Well, your finger is really pointing to 100 stars that they could be looking at. There's no way for them to be able to pick out the exact star you're talking about. So it's almost impossible to explain to them how or what star or planet or whatever you're talking about, where it is. But with a laser, you can point this at that star and you can see the beam go all the way. And again, an optical illusion, it appears to touch the star itself that you're talking about. So they can pinpoint that exact star out of over 2,000 stars that you can see with the naked eye. So that's the great thing about these. Now, these are not very powerful lasers for our use in astronomy or other things, maybe showing something in scenic natural wonders, pointing out something in maybe a low light situation. They could be really good in that too, but originally, when I wanted one of these years and years ago, they were about $200, $250 for a star pointer, they would call it. So you can use this for a star pointer. And this is a red laser, and these two are green lasers, and I like the green lasers. I think that's prettier than the red. But anyway, these lasers are only 532 nanometers. That's 532 nm. That's nanometers. That gives you the wavelength, basically. Wavelengths will contribute toward the different colors, whether it's blue, red, yellow, green, etc. And the power of these is only 5 milliwatt. That would be 5 MW. You'll see that on some lasers. And that's a very low power, 5 milliwatt. These will travel out, some reports I've seen on these will travel out 50 miles. Some say 5 miles. So, again, you can just point out various things now with these kind of lasers, and they have an aluminum body on them. And some of them have a star filter up front. These don't have a star filter. But if you use a star filter, then you can shoot it against a wall, and you can see it look like a bunch of stars, and you can kind of rotate this end right here, and it's really neat to see how that works. On lasers, they have a key system. They come with 2 keys, and you can see right here that you put a key in here to unlock your laser. Now what that key does, you've got a push button right here, and that push button, if you lock it, then when you push the button, nothing's going to happen. The laser will not come on. Plus, if you have your keys in your pocket, somebody picks up your laser, they can't turn it on. Okay? So, if you unlock it, then you push the button and the laser comes on. And one of the advantages of having a locking system in these lasers is that if it doesn't take much pressure to push the button. So if you turn it on and set it down somewhere and it was turned on, then it could generate enough heat to cause a fire and set something on fire. Okay. Now again, this is only 5 milliwatts. You can buy a 1 watt laser, which is very powerful. The 1 watt laser, you can shine it on stuff and it will burn hole through paper, leather, plastic, cigarette lighters. It'll catch cigarettes on fire. It'll do all kind of stuff like that. Now, I'm not into all of that, unfortunately. So, and I don't know. Those lasers can cost a couple of $100 for those that really generate a lot of heat. Now, these will generate some heat, but not like that. One thing too is that for those people who are using lasers to play with, to burn stuff, whatever it may be, that bright light, you cannot do that, shine a light like this, and without wearing laser safety glasses. There's special glasses that protect your eyes from this laser, that bright light like that. It's a lot brighter than that if you're looking at it. So you need to wear laser safety glasses or you will damage your eyes doing that. So my use for it is mainly for teaching astronomy or something like that. And that's why I've got it. Or maybe pointing out something on scenic wonders like Devil's Tower or the Great Moon Crater in Arizona. The Devil's Tower is located in Wyoming. You know, you might be able to use it kind of in a low light situation or early morning situation. You can see that beam all the way to whatever you're pointing at. So that's kind of the neat thing about lasers here. Again, I'm not into burning things with lasers, but again, because they're so cheap, like this is the red laser and this is the green laser. It's even got green on here. These 2 lasers right here cost me like $17 for these 2 lasers. That's really cheap. And this one was about $10 for this green laser. It's the same as this one over here. And I was very impressed with the first one, and I saw the 2-pack, and I thought, well, we'll try that one too. And now some people will use a laser. You don't need this type of laser because you see the beam all the way wherever it's going. You actually see that beam. So it's a real laser. You know, sometimes if we're doing a presentation or something like that, and you've got a diagram or if you've got something on a projector screen, you may point with a laser this, and that, and try to explain whatever it is you're trying to convey to someone. But in the world of lasers, this is a great deal. And again, I like the green. To me, it's probably my favorite color. Red's okay. Green, I think you can see it a lot better. Doesn't bother your eyes. Warnings about lasers. The warning about lasers is you never point a laser at a human being. You could hit them in the eye with it. If you hit them in the eye with it, even these cheap lasers like this, you can damage the retina in their eye. You can give them eye damage. You never point a laser at an animal. If it hits them in the eye, it can damage their eye as well. You never point lasers at fish, like fish in an aquarium. It can damage their eye because it's such a bright light. You don't point lasers at plants, flowers, things of that nature. You can damage them because it does give off some heat sometimes, and it can damage them depending on what kind of laser that you're using. And you don't point lasers at things that can become flammable. Again, this is only 5 milliwatt, and it's not that dangerous as far as heat wise. If you had the 1 watt one, you could burn a hole through your pants, shirt, bill folder, stuff like that if you held it there long enough in the same spot. So there are more powerful lasers out there that you can buy from $50 on up to $500. But you really have to be careful with that kind of stuff. And so make sure that you always lock your laser so that if you accidentally press the button here or put it in a holder or some case or something like that, and it accidentally squeezes the button, your laser is not going to come on, and you have the potential of starting a fire. You don't want to burn your house down. So I think these would be useful if that's what you want to do, is use it for astronomy. And I think that's very useful. It's a great tool. Anybody who does astronomy, guys out there who do astronomy and like astronomy, and you got a couple of telescopes or you got a telescope. I've got a couple, and I've studied astronomy off and on for years and years. So it's just really nice that you can point out stars. I mean, to that specific star, there's no doubt in their mind what you're pointing to, and they can be 2 or 3 feet away from you and still see exactly what the laser is pointing at. And there's so much you can say about that. So I have a couple of videos that I did that the quality as far as seeing the stars is not that great. It's worse on a cell phone. If you put it on your television set, you can see the stars a tiny bit better. But most phones, cameras are not made to take pictures at night, especially video. But you might find that kind of interesting a little bit. So, other warning too that I need to mention: do not point lasers at aircrafts, helicopters, planes, especially commercial planes. A commercial plane, carrying people, travel about 5 miles up. They're about 5 miles above the ground. And can be just a tad more. These lasers, as cheap as they are, $10, can hit those planes, those commercial planes. And I would think that you can get in a lot of trouble pointing a laser at a commercial airplane. Some of those probably have some kind of warning device, because it could be like a tracking thing for you worry about terrorists or something like that. So do not point them at aircraft. Again, don't point them at cars either. You hit somebody in the eye with these things. So they can be dangerous. So I hope this helps you a little bit if you're thinking about a laser, and if you like astronomy, or if you like demonstrating things to people, or I think these can be very helpful, especially in astronomy. And that's a pretty safe environment. And you can explain things so much easier to people. Well, I hope that helps, guys. If you think about getting a laser, I personally don't want one that's that powerful that it burns stuff. So these right here are pretty good for that. And you can see the laser beam really well as well. And I'll show you a couple of videos here. Thanks for watching, guys. Gary J. You just aim at, say, like at the moon right here, because that's the brightest thing I can see that this camera will pick up on the cell phone. Here we go. This is going to be a green beam. I got a red one too. Okay. Now I'm aiming directly at the moon. Okay. And it looks like it's touching the moon. All right. That's what it looks like. Like it's going all the way to the moon. It's really neat the way it looks. Like it just goes all the way to the moon. You can see about 2,000 stars at night with the naked eye, and that's great. But it's confusing to try to teach anybody what star is which star by just pointing up there. You know, well, see that star right there? Well, that could cover up 100 different stars. But using a laser light, you just simply point out that particular star and point right at it and say, well, that star right there, and I mean, it's just like putting your finger on that star. That star right there, well, that's the one that's called Betelgeuse, which is a giant red star. 1,400 suns, like our sun here. 1,400 suns can fit into Betelgeuse. That's how big it is. That's a giant red star. And like over to the other side, you might see the constellation Orion. And the constellation Orion has 3 stars in the middle. You say 1, 2, 3. You can point to those 3 stars, which point to Aldebaran, which is the red supergiant star of Taurus de Bull. And Orion constellation is the largest constellation that we can see from Earth. And below Orion constellation would be like the Dog Star. Say the Dog Star was right there. You can just touch that star with this laser, it seems like. Look at the Dog Star right here, and I'm going to turn this green laser on. And it's just like a pen light type thing, but it's really nice. See right here, it's poor quality on this film right here, on this camera, but it looks like this light is going all the way to that star and touching it. So when you point out a star and you try to make an outline of a constellation or whatnot, then people can actually see that particular star. If they're 3 or 4 feet away, your laser looks like it's going right to that star. And so it's extremely helpful if you're trying to teach somebody the constellations. The other day I saw like the moon here, and below that was Venus. And Venus is really bright. I mean, you can't miss Venus. So the Venus was like down here, and then like down here was Jupiter. And I think right above here was like Saturn. So planets don't twinkle, and planets usually come out when you look at planets a lot of times in the evening right before it starts getting dark, real dark. You can look at the area where the planets are, and you won't see any other star. You won't see any stars a lot of times. All you'll see is those planets. They come out first a lot of times. You see the moon right here. It's getting a little bit brighter. Now we can focus that. But again, we point our laser at that. No way to miss that. So I can't think of any real reason to have a laser pointer except to teach people astronomy. Maybe y'all have some others. They do make small lasers to go in like rifles, rifles and pistols sometimes, and they look like bullets. And they used to help people line their sights up. What we call like bore sighting lasers. Bore sighting laser. Okay, I'll magnify this a little bit. See that white spot dead center of the screen? That's Venus. So let's point at Venus. Venus is right there. And you see how well this kind of just points out that one star perfectly. Now it's hitting part of a limb on a tree right there, but it looks like it's going all the way to the planet itself. And that's a great thing. So that's just an idea. Venus is so bright you can generally see it, so better than anything else. And here's a better view right here, it looks like. Right there is Venus. And so you can just pinpoint these stars so easily, and that's just really incredible. And see, we're not far from the moon right here. And we could probably find Jupiter and Saturn. And one other thing came to mind too, like if you got a starry night and you saw a satellite going by, and you tell somebody look at the satellite, and they can't see it because they don't know how to look for satellites. And you can point your laser at it and say, there it goes right there. There's a satellite. And help them find it. Oh. And I'll show you a couple of videos here. Thanks for watching, guys. Gary J.